Hey everyone, it is February 27, 2015. We're doing this Priority Intercept, this emergency iMore podcast right now because the minute we finished the other podcast, Apple announced their March event, their Spring Forward event. That's what we're going to talk about right now. This is the iMore Show. Joining me, I don't know how I managed to pull this off, but we've got a very special guest, Georgia Dow. I believe it's because you finally heard that your wrist might look less like a wrist soon.
I'm so excited. Yeah, it was because of the watch.
Awesome. And we've also got joining us, of course, Serenity Caldwell. How are you, Serenity?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to get my hands on some new Apple tech.
And begrudgingly joining us because he is ambivalent at the moment, Peter Cohen. How are you, Peter?
Stop it. I'm getting really sick of this, Rene.
Well, no, you got to admit, Peter, I mean, like from gold iPhones to, I don't know, llamas and blue dresses, they're just, the amount of things you've chosen to care about lately is minimal.
What?
What are you holding up?
What?
Giant gold iPhone. Is that going to go on your wrist?
Yes.
All right, so Apple did announce their event. Serenity, is this earlier than we thought it might be?
I think so. I was kind of expecting a late March event, but as somebody who has a lot of travel in late March, I'm very grateful that it's so early. Allows it to space out a little bit. But yeah, we have heard Tim Cook say before that the watch is going to be shipping in April. So giving it this long lead time in some ways is great because it builds anticipation and people have time to all right, pre-orders go on sale today and I can, save up my money for my ridiculously expensive edition watch. But I think there's a lot of practical reasons too. For one, it allows them to really get a good sense of channel inventory and just how many people are going to pre-order. And for another, there are probably going to be some fairly substantial retail overhauls done for the import of the watch, and this allows all of the retail stores to kind of get that plan in place and get the new displays and the new tables that they're going to need to properly showcase the Apple Watch.
It's funny because I'm watching George's face as you're talking. She's just like, "What do you mean I'm not getting it March 9th? What is this? This is complete BS."
Sure, I'm having you steal a watch while you go to the event. That is your one goal, is just steal me one watch. I'm not asking for a lot of things. Just get me a watch.
Now they're not going to let me in. Thanks, Georgia.
Sorry.
Good. What do we say about Fight Club? What was the whole rule about Fight Club?
Oh, I forgot.
So is this another tease? I mean, they already showed it off in September. They're going to show it off now in March. It's only shipping in April. Do you want to see more of it this early, Georgia, or do you want them just to hurry up and ship it?
I want the watch, but I will getting pictures, finding out anything more about the watch until I actually get my hands on a watch. But in the end, I want a watch. That's your job to get me the watch early. If that's not the case, I'd rather you get me some great coverage about the watch and any fine, tiny little detail that there might be. Pricing would be a fabulous thing to find out. Then we can stop confabulating different stories about what it could be and what would be an accurate price. So any news is better news than no news.
All right. So, Peter, there are a lot of unknowns still. I mean, as much as Apple has shown off the Apple Watch, it's all been in these big, general, global terms. When you start to drill down to specifics, there's a lot we still don't know.
There is tons that we still don't know. So Apple's got a lot to show off. I'm sure that that's going to be a big part of this presentation.
So one thing that Serenity wanted to get out of the way immediately was the one more thing stuff. Is this going to be a watch event? Are we going to see maybe, new Macs, someone already asked me if the iPhone 6S is coming in March.
Oh, people. As much as we want everything now and we want it in our hands and we want it on our wrists, I really do think that this event is going to be 99.9% about the Apple Watch. We may hear a little bit about how iOS is a great platform because it integrates with the Apple Watch, but I'm really doubtful we'll hear about any of Apple's other ventures. That includes the Apple TV, that includes new Macs, that includes photos for OS X, that includes the Apple Car. Sorry, guys, that's not coming. If it's coming,
they're not shipping the Apple Car in March.
Sorry, not gonna happen.
It It was my accessory for my watch, though. Does that make a
know.
difference?
I'm sorry,
Oh.
Georgia. They just don't appreciate the opinions of Canadians like they used to.
I know.
Although there was an article in the Telegraph today where Tim Cook was like, "Oh yeah, you'll be able to use your Apple Watch to unlock your car in the future. We're talking to manufacturers, so like even if they're not getting
That was the Tesla meetings.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, yeah, I expect we're gonna see the Apple Watch. The Apple Watch, the Apple Watch.
I would love to see Tim Cook strut out on stage and say, by the way, the whole Apple Watch thing, complete fake out, complete psych. Here's the Apple car, and then have Angela Arendt drive out one on stage and have it look like a Bugatti Veyron, but even more Apple-ish.
And it's only $3,000.
There have been a lot of people waiting for the Retina MacBook Air, the long-rumored Retina MacBook Air. They wanted it for Haswell. They wanted it for Broadwell. Maybe some people want it for Skylake. Do you think there's any chance that there'll be one more thing where there'll be a photos demo and, hey, look, brand new Retina MacBook Air screen?
Nope.
I think that it would be it would be an error for them to put anything about that. I think they want to create as much buzz as they can. And so when they're unveiling a new product, they want all of the stories to happen to be about the Apple Watch. And so every single Apple blogger out there is going to have to be, that's what they're going to talk about instead of splitting their difference, because then that could affect their sales numbers. So they want to make sure that people know about the watch, know when it's coming out, know how much money they have to save or take out of their house mortgage in order to pay for the Apple Watch, and get everything ready for that. So I think that splitting their time on stage for anything else would not be a great idea for Apple.
But what about the iPad Pro, Serenity, and the Apple Pen?
Oh, the iPad was long ago the recipient of the coveted spring slot, but they've moved to a fall release schedule for the last couple of years now, and I really think if we're going to see anything iPad related, whether that be an Apple Pen, whether that be a larger iPad, we're going to see that later in this year.
All right, so last-ditch effort.
I guess it depends, Rene, though. Can you use the pen on your watch?
No.
Okay,
No.
well then.
So what about, almost Bob Barkery, and what about Tim Cook is up there and he goes, and you can use your Apple Watch to control your brand new Apple TV, bam, 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 and then he presses the button on that, and the new Apple TV shows it's 4K, 3D, HDR. No, Serenity's shaking her head no.
No, I'm sorry. The Apple Watch is going to be cool enough. It doesn't need to be an accessory to an accessory. We'll hear hopefully more about a new Apple TV later this year, but it will not be at the March event.
You're no fun. Rene just wants his file system, and to Gene Munster to get his TV. He just wants everybody to get their favorite toys for Christmas.
They all want to be happy. Unfortunately, it's not Christmas, it's March. And, as we spring forward, there are going to be some things that are just left behind.
Ah, nice. Nicely put. All right, so then let's get down into the nitty-gritty of this. So, Serenity, I think it was you already mentioned, or Georgia, I've already lost my trail of thought on this. Somebody mentioned the retail makeover already, and that Tim Cook addressed that in the Telegraph article again today. Apple's going to make this product available, but they're also going to have to figure out how to sell it. We've heard rumors that there's going to be a new concierge service for the Apple stores. But Serenity, you've worked there. What's it going to be like to have to sell watches to people while you're also selling Macs and iPhones and...
Well, I don't necessarily think it will be all that complicated. Apple's had several different plans in place for various retail endeavors. And the general goal for something like a watch, I imagine they'll staff it similar to the way that they used to. If you've ever been in an Apple store at Christmas time, they do something called an express bar, where they have one person basically staffing a table that has lots of iPods, lots of iPhones, things that normally get stored back of house for security reasons, but because there are so many people who want that kind of thing during Christmas, they're all out, they're all in the front, so that we can very easily be like, all right, iPod, here you go. iPad, here you go.
Like it's not that live skit.
Exactly, pretty much. You get an iPhone and you get an iPhone. So I imagine the watch will actually be something very similar, where you will have dedicated staff staffing that area, in part for security reasons, and in part just because it makes sense to have somebody always on hand to be like, do you want to try on this? Let's see the different bands. How big a part of the store, that remains to be seen. I mean, I think that Apple's fairly bullish on how many Apple Watches they're going to sell in the first quarter, in this first first year. So they want to build according real estate. But Apple stores are already cramped as is. They're already very busy. So being able to carve out a good enough space so that people who want to try on the Apple Watch will be able to do so without demolishing a third of their store, I think will be a very big challenge. On the Apple retail note, though, I would really, 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 really like to see some female presence on the stage when talking about it. Specifically, it would be awesome if Apple would let Angela Ahrendts introduce the retail section of the watch on March 9th. We've never had an SVP, a female SVP, come out and demo anything on stage, anything. And I feel like if there was ever a time, this is the perfect time. Angela Ahrendts is smart. She's well spoken. We've seen from her work at Burberry that she knows how to show off fashion accessories, so it makes perfect sense to me.
Georgia, do you think the event, because that was one of my big questions, should they show us how retail is going to work at the event? Like, people are interested in the technology, but will we be interested to see how they're selling it?
I don't think that that's something that's going to be a necessary addition to it. Apple's going to do a great job selling it out in retail. Probably it will be at the front of the stores to catch everyone's eye as people are walking by. You know, again, with massive amounts of safety so that you can't just run out with a working Apple Watch. So maybe they'll have the dummy models that you'll get to test out, and then, you know, have one person that will bring you back to the back if you're going to be trying out an edition watch just because you would like to.
But do they have to explain how you're going to buy it to people, or is that going to be just you?
Why would that be any different than buying any other Apple product?
Because it's more intimate, it's more personal, it's more about you, Georgia.
Yeah, but selling things should not be more intimate and personal, because if it's more intimate and personal, that's the exact reason why people don't like going into high-end stores. That becomes creepy and a little bit too much, and that will, Apple's audience is mostly going to be the tech audience. It's not going to be people that buy jewelry or high-end fashion, though that's what people are kind of speaking about. But that's not where Apple's, you know, dollars and cents really lie. And people that are in the tech industry would find it very, very uncomfortable if they have to go into a separate room, or they have to go into a little area, or they have to even walk to the back of the store. And Apple wants these to sell as hotcakes. So you want this to be really, really inviting. You want people to try it out as much as possible to see how, if they're comfortable with it. And you want people to be able to buy it as simply and easily as they can.
So you're thinking giant claw machine where you stick the...
Ooh, I would love that. Then you might get the edition watch. It would just be like, you know, instead of putting in dollar coins, you'd have to put in like $500 coins.
Peter, do you think this will roll out towards third party, like the way that Apple partnered with Best Buy? Do you think they'll partner with jewelry stores, with third-party resellers?
Yeah, the third-party reseller question is something I'm very curious about. If that all depends on Apple's scale of manufacturing. And, you know, Apple may go conservative with this and say, okay, we're going to make this an Apple Store exclusive for a while. Have they actually said that they're going to let third parties sell them?
I don't think they said anything about the sales process yet.
Exactly. I mean, you know, speaking on, not on behalf of, but speaking as somebody who works at an Apple authorized reseller, we're certainly interested in carrying the watch, but how we would integrate the watch into our retail experience might not be how Apple wants it. You know, so that might put the brakes on Apple from offering certain kinds of third-party resellers an opportunity to sell it. I would expect that we're going to see the Apple Watch get into you know, mainstream department stores and places like that where it can be showcased the way that Apple wants it to. But let's face it, Apple can afford to be picky about how this thing is shown, because at least from the start, you know, it's got total control over how many it's going to sell and how fast it's going to ramp up production.
I just had this mental image of like you walking into this little store corner in the middle of nowhere, and the guy going, "I got you Apple Watch," and he pulls up his sleeve, and there's 8 of them on one arm, and then he opens up his jacket, and there's a bunch of them hanging, and you're like, "Wait a minute, those are running Android." No, what you talking about? Get out of here, you bum.
Oh,
That's
so you've been to our store.
Kiosk, yeah.
No, that wasn't the Cape Store, Peter.
Boy.
So this is why I was asking, George. This is why I was pushing you a little bit, because there's a lot of things that are unclear. For example, do you buy your gold edition watch with midnight clasp on it? What if you want a gold bracelet as well, if Apple chooses to offer one? If you get your stainless steel one, what if you want both the Link bracelet and the Milanese loop? Are those just hanging on the shelves like iPad or iPhone cases, or does that have to be done so that you can sit there and try them on and look at the different bands, and does that have to be built differently?
I think that they'll be able to sell them. I think that the smartest way for Apple to sell it would be for them to allow to sell the bands as separate accessories. Because I think a lot of people, whereas they would buy one watch if you have to buy the watch face with a certain band, which some different bloggers have been speaking about, I think that that wouldn't be the best way to get the most amount of money out of people for Apple to sell. So I think that they'll be able to sell different accessory bands that you can buy with it. And so because of that, I think that Apple will have all of the different watch faces with all the different bands that will be possible for that set on display, so people can take a look at how they look and place their wrist next to it and see if they would look good onto your wrist. I doubt that
hologram.
That would be really cool. I doubt that we're going to get technology to it, but that would be awesome. It would be like at the Lego store.
Right? Yeah.
You hold it up and you'd be like, it's not working. I still only have wrists, though, unfortunately. Oh, well. I think that would be really neat, but I think that they're going to allow people to take a look because people want to test out what it's going to look like on their skin tone, how it's going to feel on their arm. I'm worried. I want to get the Milanese. I think it's going to be a very expensive band, but I'm worried that it's going to actually like pull off some of my arm hairs, which is such a horrible thing when you're wearing certain bracelets. And so I want to get the feel of how it would feel also. Is it really cold on my wrist or is it really not cold on my wrist?
I was going to say only the Canadian one pulls out your hairs.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just cruel.
Apple
really
depilatation.
No, I mean, Georgia, that's a really good question, and it's something that has kind of been puzzling me. Is do you have to get all of the band accessories that you want at time of purchase? Because if they're going to limit bands to certain watches, if they all have the same basic clasp mechanism, then it should mean that they should be interchangeable on all the watch faces. So if you're a significant other and you're coming in and you're like, my boyfriend just bought an Apple Watch and I want to get him a new band for his birthday, are you going to have to show proof that he has like an addition to buy a midnight blue classic buckle, or can you just do that and then oh no, you've mispaired? I don't understand how that's going to work really.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that it would be the smartest idea for them to let any watch face go with any band. Then I could buy my thought would then be to buy the cheapest watch and buy a really fancy band, because who's really going to know?
Of course.
Yeah, and then you can buy many bands. I think that they would be then a great gift, because Apple wants something that you can make a lot of money for, and what would be a better accessory to buy someone that already has an Apple Watch than a different band that they can match with their favorite outfit?
Georgia cracked it. Everyone's gonna buy the gold edition gold link bracelet for $10,000 and then swap out $350 sport casings every year.
I'm gonna buy the sport watch, and I'm gonna get Allie to anodize it into gold.
Yeah, there you go.
That's it. No one's gonna know.
I'm waiting for a third party to come out with a some kind of pendant that I'll be able to, or some kind of chain that I'll be able to wear the Apple Watch on. So it'll be like Khan in Star Trek 2.
I thought you meant like Flava Flav.
That's what I was thinking. With your Apple Watch. Right.
Boy.
This is an aside. Kevin Mitchell and Adam Zeiss wore BlackBerry playbooks on gold chains around their necks for about 6 months. It's a period we try to blast from history, but I have to keep bringing it up.
I cannot unsee.
Peter, is that going to be difficult trying to stage watches? I mean, they could have those giant tables like they had at the exhibition, or like Johnny Ive apparently had in that interview, where it's a glass top underneath that you see all the different watches. But trying to stage the casing options, the size options, the band options, that's quite a lot of logistics.
It is quite a lot of logistics, and it'll be interesting to see how Apple handles that. I have no sense whatsoever how they're modifying their their retail experience to handle that. So I can only imagine what's going through their heads right now and what they're planning.
It's how you order. In those restaurants where you go in and you order sushi by the tablet and you just pick the options you want, and then it prints. Maybe you can go into the Apple Store. There'll be an iPad there, and you just tap the options you want, and someone brings it out to you.
Or maybe there'll be a banana boat in one corner. I mean, a sushi boat little channel in one corner.
They're floating along.
They're floating along. You grab the one that you want, just scan it with your iPhone and then walk out of the store.
Don't you think the best experience if you were going to buy the Apple Watch would be if they actually had them attached to something so you could not take them out, but you could actually try them out onto your wrist, just like they allow you to try out the iPads and try out the Macs? I think that would be their best user experience, and I think it would sell more watches. I guess you would have to worry about theft, and that might not be a great idea to use with a real edition watch, maybe a gold colored edition watch instead of a real one, especially if they're really expensive. But I think that would be the best user experience, and we would end up with, I want to really feel what it feels like on my wrist, and I don't know if they would have enough people in the store like, because I'm going to try out every band with every. I'm going to be horribly annoying. I'm so sorry,
I have been
Apple.
in places where you've ordered coffee and made people cry.
I know.
No,
I
I mean
know.
that's a great question. It's just there's a lot of different options, and it's yeah.
Some girl.
I wonder if they might just have they might do something banner for the launch and actually have tables that have almost every
Mhm.
different collection combination. And if you want to buy weird bands for the collections, then that may be available separately. But have like
Why were you looking at me when you said weird bands?
if you wanted to pair a gold Milanese with a sport watch, for instance.
Or aftermarket bands, so Peter can get his Back to the Future and Blade Runner aftermarket watch bands. All right, so moving on, battery life. Tim Cook again said today that it'll get you about a day's battery life. You'll have to charge it at night. I've heard, a lot of people who have said it'll last you a day. It might last longer than a day, but if you don't charge it at night, you'll wake up and maybe it'll last till 10 or 11, but then you'll have to take it off to charge it, and that's really inconvenient because while you're awake, you want to be using your watch. So the conventional wisdom seems to be it'll get you through a day. We've heard estimates of 2 to 4 hours if you actually sit there and just stare at the brightly lit screen the entire time. But very few people are going to do that. Is that I'll start with you, Serenity. It's going to have to be a minimum level of battery life that you find acceptable?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be very annoyed if it either runs out within a day's normal use, and normal I mean active, so it's like looking at it for notifications, but also using the health features. I'm going to be annoyed if it runs out in less than a day's normal use, and or if it drains my phone's battery to the point where neither is useful. I don't want to have to start carrying around a battery pack for my iPhone 6 because the watch is piggybacking on that.
You mean because it's going to keep the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi connections transiting data back and forth?
Yeah, I actually think that they'll be pretty good about that. In general, Apple's figured out a good way to kind of like balance everything, so you're not worried so much about that. But that said, it's still one of those things that I'm slightly concerned about. So a day's use with plugging in at night, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, well, anything on is something on, right? So if you do more with something, you're going to use it up faster. Georgia, you are probably going to wear down the Apple Watch battery in 2 hours the first time you get it. But you think as you stop playing around with it and you start falling into a normal human pattern of behavior, what are you going to expect?
Right. I think that's going to be Apple's problem, is that right when everyone gets the watch, they're going to be trying out everything that's humanly possible with the watch. And so I would expect a lot of people being upset with the battery life on the watch, just because I will have to try out everything many times and then show all my friends my cute little butterfly that's on my wrist with the time and absolutely everything else. I think that for me, what I would need, I charge my phone every night, and it's a good habit for me to get into. So in some ways, the reason that I stopped using my Pebble was because I did not have to get into a good habit of charging it each night. And then once it went dead, I'm like, where's the charger? Where's the Pebble? I'm like, forget about it. And so I left it. So I think that as long as I can get through a day when I get used to not constantly using it or sending people pictures at all times and doodling, I think that, a good, 16 hours, 14 hours till I need to charge it again would be okay, since, I'm trying to go to bed around, relative hours now.
I'd like a combo charger, so when I go to plug in my iPhone, there's a dongle there that reminds me to plug in my watch, or some way that if I need the watch, I can transfer power from my phone. I don't know.
From your phone to your watch, you mean?
It just seems like
But then you have to walk around with your phone attached. You'd be like.
I do that with a Mophie pack now already when I'm roaming.
But the difference is you can put your phone in your pocket or in your purse, whereas your watch you're going to want to have on your wrist.
Phone's always in my purse.
Well, and also the watch is charging from underneath, so that's going to be a little bit of a difficult thing to put on while you're wearing your watch. I will say that the idea of a dual charger is really appealing to me because I only have so many sockets in my house, and right now it's already I already have basically extension cords for each one of them, and it would be really I don't want to have to buy another. I have an 8 plug extension cord for my bed, and I don't want to switch to a 10 plug because I have to add yet another electronic to my nightly charging station. So if they can figure out a way that it is a split cable where it charges both your phone and your watch, that would be cool. It's a bonus perk, but
I've seen this concept design on this guy named Peter Parker, where he has like a bracelet on one part, and then there's like a wire that goes up, and then there's a larger battery power module higher up on his arm. And if somebody could give me this thing where I have it higher on my arm as a battery pack, and it goes down, and there's a little magnetic thing that the watch goes over, I won't be able to shoot webbing, but I will be able to go for days.
I sort of envision a Cronenbergian future where the Apple Watch just kind of fuses into your skin and just draws right off your life essence to stay powered and active at all times.
You probably have that already, Peter.
I would certainly like it, yes.
All right, so upgradability is something we've been talking about for a while. The people who are buying the edition version of the watch are going to be paying $4,000, $5,000, $8,000, $10,000, $12,000. If there's a gold link bracelet, maybe more for that watch, and it comes with guts that, according to most technology estimates, will last you for about a year. Now, Ren, you wrote about this quite extensively. The idea of maybe the module can be changed, maybe there could be a trade-in program. Is that something Apple could address at the event?
I'm hoping. But I'm not, unfortunately, putting much stake in it. I do think that if the Apple Watch Edition is going to debut with a $5,000 plus price, that there has to be something mentioned about longevity. Whether that's edition customers get X amount of money off the next watch, or whether that's, you know how we said that the S1 chip is modular? We mean it's really modular. We're just going to go pop, and you can upgrade or replace your internals for $1,000 when the new watch comes out. Just so like I like the idea of these two things. Neither of them sound particularly Apple, but then again, a $5,000 gold watch doesn't sound particularly like Apple either. So I think we kind of have to wait and see. But I'm hoping that there will be something addressed in that respect. I don't think we'll see upgradable parts if they do exist for either the regular Apple Watch or the Sport, especially the Sport. I imagine the Sport actually has to be sealed to a certain extent to give it its water resistantness and not, fry it from sweat.
Yeah, so we talked about this on Vector this week, and you were saying it involved your faith in Apple. My counterpoint was that people who own Lamborghinis don't care about gas.
I know, but I think that they're just two different audiences. I think that if the watch, I would love for it to be upgradable. I, as Serenity had mentioned, I don't think that that's something that we're going to end up seeing, and I think that that's one of the reasons why the watch is not going to, in my estimation, be as expensive as some people have stated that it might be. It's just not the same audience to it. It's not something that you're going to get to keep. It's also a first-gen device, which most people, if they're really into technology and would want to spend that much money on it, I guess they could buy another watch the next year. But even you, Rene, one of the most Apple-esque tech person that wants to buy the newest, best thing, are you going to be buying the Edition watch if it's $10K?
So I thought of this, and nobody listened. Everyone who's listening to the podcast, stop listening, because I don't want this to get out. I was thinking, because technology usually gets thinner and lighter, which is something we value as human beings, and right now the Apple Watch is as thick as it is because it has to have all the screen mechanics and computer systems. If it gets thinner over time, Georgia, you know what I realized?
What?
That's less gold. There'll be less gold in future thinner if you want maximum gold, you're going to have to get in early.
Right, because you're not going to be getting your money for the gold. Most of the money that you're going to be spending, like we had already spoken, that it's probably going to be a little bit over $1,000 worth of gold, depending on how much of the externals are really going to be and what thickness they're going to be. So we're talking about a K of gold. If you're paying $5K for the watch, this is not something that's going to make you more money later on in time.
Collector's item is going to be right on my shelf.
Okay, fair enough, with my little bobblehead.
All right, so the other thing that we asked about is I did an article about, I think the Apple Watch has multifaceted appeal. I think different people, some people might just want the Sport as a great exercise band because they haven't found one that suited them. Other people might want it just for communications. Like my mom keeps saying she wants it because she keeps missing phone calls and messages because her phone is in her purse all the time, Georgia. And other people, for me, I'm thinking about all the stuff I could do with HomeKit, for example, because right now I use the widget for Hue lights, but that would be so easy to have on my watch to control my Apple TV. Tim Cook, again, said he could use it to open your car. There's all these different things that authentication for me, Apple Pay, people who only have an iPhone 5, 5C, or 5S can't use Apple Pay right now. With an Apple Watch, they can. If Apple extends Bluetooth Trusted Objects, you'll be able to use that maybe to unlock your computer, unlock your house. There's so many different ways that I think this is going to appeal to people. And Peter, you've said you're not sure about the use case. A lot of people said they're not sure, what they're going to do with it. But I think the fact that it has so many layers, some people say that's lack of focus, but I think that's just sort of widening appeal.
Yeah, I think widening appeal is crucial. I mean, I know from my perspective, the one place where the Apple Watch would really succeed for me is as a health kit device. Because I've been through some radical health changes over the course of the past 6 months, and I need to keep myself on a much more strict regimen of activity and nutrition than I ever used to. And it's requiring me to regiment parts of my day that have gone unregimented for decades. In a way that's very unfamiliar to me. Now, I can use my Mac and I can use my iPhone to help make that easier, but having a device on my wrist that can transmit telemetry to my iPhone or potentially to my Mac eventually, to keep track of the stuff that I need to keep track of, to know how well I'm doing, and to remind me occasionally, tap me on the wrist to remind me that it's time for me to take this vitamin supplement that I have to take, or this pill that I have to take at a specific time of day. That sort of stuff could be life-changing if it's handled right. So far, HealthKit isn't really there yet, but you can see the foundation that Apple has laid for this going forward. And the idea of the Apple Watch tying into that ecosystem and third-party apps tying into that ecosystem is very compelling and a very interesting idea. In the end, it's not a fashion accessory for me, or even a lifestyle accessory. The point of the Apple Watch has to be to improve the quality of my life in substantive enough ways that I'm going to drop at least $350 to get one on my wrist. So far we're really in the woods about what that means. But if this creation that we're thinking about turns out the way that we are thinking about it, it could be very powerful for a lot of people.
Is that the case you have to make on stage, Ren, to show all those, to show it in action and why that's going to be important to you?
Yeah, I definitely think we'll get a nice montage of all the people who have been wearing it out and about in the last couple months.
Hate them.
Yeah, I know, those jerks. I talked to a friend of mine from Apple, and I'm like, so, do you get the Apple Watch to play with? And she's like, I can neither confirm nor deny that there is currently an Apple Watch on my wrist right now. And I'm like, but there's something on your wrist, isn't there? And she's like, yeah, but I'm sure we'll get a nice video montage. I'm sure we'll get some more information about health since we got a brief overview. I really do feel like, again, events are usually 2 hours. We should get at least 30, 45 minutes on just why the Apple Watch is set to be revolutionary for your home, for your work, for your health, etc.
Yeah, how do you make that case, Georgia? Do you show it in, because they've talked about it before and people said it wasn't focused. Do you keep with that? Do you show demos in action of the stuff working? Do you start bringing in the third-party app developers to show, do you focus on the core functionality, or do you show off all the apps and try to make sure that as many people as possible find at least a few reasons to make it worthwhile?
I think that Peter hit on a really good point, is that the difference that with the Apple, they have to say is how the Apple Watch is going to make your life better, easier, and help you out to live a better life with it. And if they can make a really great case with that by showing great videos of different ways in which you can apply using the Apple Watch, how it can help out your life where there was already small ways that you didn't have your phone, so you didn't get the notification when you needed it, or you forgot to take your medication because you were during a meeting and you didn't know something, or you missed out on the score on the Bruins game that you've been busy watching, Peter, because you're so excited about that because you had to go into your iMore show and you had to look like you were paying attention at the same time. So if it shows a lot of real life uses, it's going to be a huge hit. And I think that that's one of the great things that Apple can do with the Apple Watch, which I think was lacking in the Pebble. The Pebble I found was very, very sterile. I think that the interface was very sterile. It was a little bit of a cold user experience. And the wonderful thing about the watch is that it seems very personalized. You can use it in the way that you want to. You can make it your own watch. It looks different, it looks friendly, it looks helpful, and it looks very easy in order to use. And so I think of the Apple Watch as like a Swiss Army knife. It has many different applications, and depending on what you need in your life, it will have an application that will probably help you out for that. And so as long as Apple can do, which it already. I have no worries that they're not going to do a fabulous job of showing how this watch, how you're going to want it, how it's going to want to make your life. It's going to make your life better, and it's going to give you an easier interface because it's with you all the time in comparison to your phone, which, as Rene already teased me about, is always in my purse and has no notifications, no buzzing, no sound. So if you call me, I usually miss the call.
If I'm being eaten by a tauntaun and I need rescuing, Georgia will never be the one who.
I won't be there. I won't be there. Sorry.
So I think the third-party app thing. I mean, Ren, you've been linking to a lot of the third-party app stuff. That to me is super interesting because as much as the notifications will matter and the health stuff will matter, all the things, a lot of it is going to depend on the apps tying into it. I mean, third-party developers, as far as I know, if they've used the iOS 8 app system, they'll get that for free. They'll have to build Glances if they want it. They'll have to build WatchKit apps if they want it. But Apple's made it super easy to do a lot of super convenient things. But Health is going to have those apps and accessories, and HomeKit's going to have those apps and accessories, and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see what developers and manufacturers do in this space. From the apps that I've heard teased already, I'm really excited. I think there's a lot of potential. That's been my big sticking point for the watch, is that I kind of feel like the watch could, like the iPhone, could be anything. It just depends on how much developers are willing to sort of experiment and try new things and what sensors they're given access to. But I'm really crossing my fingers and bullish on the idea that we'll get some really great third-party apps, even with WatchKit in its limited state right now. And like the second that they open WatchKit up beyond just being a little, an iPhone relay, it's going to be really exciting.
Peter, any apps you're looking forward to especially? I think you're muted.
No, there really aren't. I mean, the watch faces look like fun, and some of the third-party stuff is appealing, but I'm really waiting for some kind of killer app that's going to knock it out of the park for me, and it hasn't touched me in that way yet. And that's probably one of the reasons why I've stated my ambivalence about getting an Apple Watch on day one before. I want to see what this thing can do before I really judge whether or not it's going to be right for me.
What about you, Georgia? What apps are you waiting for, except for Candy Crush? Because I don't think that's coming immediately.
No, I would drain my battery. It would be like gone an hour on my watch. I'd have to have the MagSafe underneath while I was playing at the same time. I think that there's no, like, I've already adapted to, and I think that that's the problem, is that everyone's already adapted to using their phone, and so they don't really understand how much easier it will be to have something on your wrist than have to search for it. But I don't know how many times when I'm sitting at my podcast room, I'm searching for the hue lights, and I don't know where it is on my phone because I don't have it organized. Being able to, unlock the door of my house, or being able to unlock my car, or tell my coffee maker, please start up. It'll be just the little things of, like, checking to know who's calling so I don't have to search on my phone to take a look at it, that will make a huge difference. Or say, when I'm driving and I need directions because I'm lost no matter where I am or what I'm doing, and to be able to have that already safely on my wrist to know where I am, or where's that coffee shop that I need to go, and it's -20 weather because I live in Canada and I don't want to get out my phone to be able to see where I'm supposed to go to find it, and I'll be able to do that on my wrist. Or the same thing to answer a call. I think that there may not be one killer app that would make people buy the Apple Watch. I think it will be many of the simple uses that will make your life, it'll be a little bit faster to do things. You'll have a little bit less stress, and I think that that's where it will be most helpful.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think it's not going to be like, if we use, like, it's $400 basically if you count taxes and whatever. And I don't think it's going to be I'm paying $200 for this and $200 for that. I think it's going to be I'm paying $5 for this and $5 for that. It's going to be the sum of all the small things that it gives you. And it's in essence, an iPhone and iPad are like that, but they have such big primal use cases. Like, it's a phone, or it's it's like a big Safari browser or book reader or something. I think the watch, like you said, is going to be the sum of all these little parts. All right, so when is it going to ship? Tim Cook has said April. Is that April 1st? Is that April 30th? Personally, I'm hoping Apple takes as much time as they need to make sure that the watch that I get is as awesome as it can possibly be. So even if it's the end of April, I know Georgia's probably going to call the National Guard by then, but I won't be upset.
Yeah, I think I'll be sad. I want it to be. I want the watch to work. I think that it's important that the watch works well. I think that it's important that it works seamlessly because if a whole bunch of the press that Apple gets is that this isn't working or this isn't working in a certain way, I think that it would get a lot of bad press for it. So Apple can take the time. I know it's coming in April. I am going to hold my expectations to the end of April so that if I get it any sooner, which is what I'm crossing my fingers for, or if Serenity picks me up when she's there, that's okay.
Get her banned now too. Great,
Yeah.
Georgia.
Hey, two people better than one can work as a team. So I'm waiting till the end of April, but I'm hoping it will be mid-April or maybe even early April. That would be amazing. But I'm expecting it to be the end of April so that they can make sure that it works really seamlessly.
Peter,
What?
when do you want an Apple Watch?
Didn't I just answer this question?
I don't remember.
When do you think it's going to ship?
I think it's probably going to ship in April. How soon it's going to ship after that, I don't know.
Are they under pressure to get? I mean, the event is so early in March. I think part of the reason of being early in March is that it takes off. If it was at the end of March, I think people would expect it to ship faster. If it's the beginning of March, I think it buys them more time within March, strangely.
Yeah, although I would also say, we already had one Apple Watch teasing event. If we had another one and it's like, it's shipping April, if they don't give us...
Okay, yeah, no, that's a very fair point. You're absolutely right. We've already seen the introduction of the Apple Watch. That happened last fall. So yeah, I guess it does make a lot of sense. And we should see some movement in the retail space, between now and then. If eagle-eyed Apple watchers are keeping an eye on their local store and they see some Brinks trucks roll up with heavily armored cases going in the back, I think you probably know what it is.
Bow. So, Ren, can they do pre-orders like the iPhone? Is it going to be a big store launch? Is it going to just show up like the iPad did last year?
So I'm of two minds, like many things about the Apple Watch, because on one hand, I think pre-orders are a very smart goal or idea from Apple because it gives them a great idea of what demand is going to be, as well as how many bands and certain colors they're going to need. On the other hand, I think Apple wants big lines for this product. I really think they want to amp it up. And the one way to ensure that you get big lines is no pre-orders. So I'm hoping for pre-orders, but I'm not sure if we'll actually get them.
Can you buy a watch over pre-order? Like, will you be confident enough in your choices? I mean, I think I could. I think I know what I want well enough that I would pre-order it.
I think so, and especially when you factor in the fact that Apple's return policy is generous enough, it's not a major problem. But yeah, I mean, think about how many people bought a Pebble sight unseen. Like, it's not completely out of the question. But yeah, I don't know what they're going to do about lines. I really don't.
But I kind of feel like you guys said Apple needs to set a date at this event to say when it's available. I think we've gone past coffee and lunch, Apple. I need dinner reservations.
Yeah, April 3rd. That's my thought.
April 3rd?
It gives them a month to get ramped and ready.
I like that one. I like that. I hope Serenity's right. I'm thinking they're probably going to wait longer just because that would break my heart, and that Apple likes doing that. But
yeah. But I'm thinking April 3rd for the U.S. and Canada, April 30th or the last week in April for international.
You really think that Canada is going to get a launch with the U.S.?
I can hope.
Now you're like, no. Look, I saw the look. Oh no.
I can hope. I would assume U.S., Canada, U.K. with the others rolling out after
like
that.
The 5 usual iPhone release.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to probably travel to the States to pick up my watch.
Go to Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm going to have to. Usually I would
Albany,
send Rene, but I need to try these on. I can't pre-order. I need to try them on.
No, you don't. You just want to torture people. You know what you want.
No, I don't. I'm not sure. The bands there's some really stunning bands, and depending on the price, I may choose to try out like the black leather band, it's just a beautiful looking band. I want to feel it, and I think that they probably will have the you'll be able to pre-order it because that gives them a really nice comfort zone and a buffer with what things are built, and people are still going to line up anyways. People aren't really counting how many. Sometimes we do have people talking about how many people are in line to that, but either way, I'm not going to expect the lineups to be like for the the phone.
Oh.
I'm sure that Apple expects exactly the same thing, but there'll be huge lineups no matter what.
The nightmare scenario is Georgia takes so long to decide that they're sold out.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. That was horrible, Renee. I actually felt that when you said that.
I've seen it happen at restaurants.
Yes.
It may, you know what? I have a weird, crazy prediction. I wonder if they're going to put the Apple Watch in stores before it goes on sale so that people can come in and try it.
Just to
And
drool.
yeah, well, no, like come in, try it, figure out what you want, and then at this day you queue up and you buy your thing.
Or you go back and order or something.
Or yeah, exactly. Like because I'm thinking about the traditional queue line, and I'm like, oh my God, that queue will last forever if it's one person then has to go in and spend like 30 minutes figuring out what band and because
You're thinking about me. You're
Yes.
like, oh no, to stop people from Georgia.
I'm thinking about you because traditionally the queue lines, they come with the little cards and you pre-check what you want, but I don't see that happening for the watch. So I wonder how they'll get around that.
I would like a stainless steel with the 38 millimeter, but I want the band on the side. Can I have the band on the side, please?
What have you got for $349?
Right.
Sold
Exactly.
it.
Oh, Peter.
Yeah, I think that I wonder if they changed the manner. I don't know if they would have as many people lined up if people could already take a look at the watch. And I don't know if the press would be as big and if the buzz would be as big if we were able already to kind of line up or take a peek at the watch before a huge unveiling at the Apple Store, which it creates a lot of excited people, and that happy anticipatory anxiety is really good for Apple of the what is it going to look like, and people are starting to talk about it and salivating at the thought of the watch. That could just be me though.
All right, so the event is happening March 9th at the Yerba Buena Center in San Francisco, Serenity, and I will be there to bring everyone the action live. Any last thoughts, Ren? Anything you're expecting when we get there?
I'm really looking forward to it. I love going to Apple events, and I love the energy that comes from attending an event live on stage. Mostly, I just want more FaceTime with the watch. I really I got a chance to play with it for about 30 minutes on and off in the hands-on demo in September, and I want more time.
I want to try more varieties. I only got to try the Apple Watch and the Apple Watch Sport, the small one. I want to
Yeah,
try different bands.
I want to try the edition just so I have the feeling of it, even though I know I'm never getting one.
We'll make Kevin send you his.
Yeah, exactly. Kevin can send me his first generation when he upgrades.
Yes. All right, Georgia, what are you looking most forward to? What do you want to see the most? What do you want us to bring back for you besides a watch?
Oh, okay. Sorry.
What questions do you need answered?
I'd love to know the pricing to the watch. When is it going to be on my wrist? And is it going to be unveiled at the same time as in the US? That would be the most exciting news for me.
All right. Peter, anything? What are you looking forward to? What do you want to know?
Well, as I said in our editorial bobblehead roundtable, I'd really like to see how Apple has figured out a way to integrate the Macintosh into the Apple Watch experience as well. Because it's one complete continuum of usage. So if there's any clarity on that front, that'd be really interesting.
Yeah, my dream scenario, and I don't think we'll get it with Watch 1, but my dream scenario is I walk into the room, and the problem I've always had with Bluetooth Trusted Objects is like Phil Nickinson has those for Android, and it's either like a little dongle that you wear in your shirt, and if I grab that dongle, suddenly I'm Phil Nickinson. It doesn't know, it just knows that it's close by. And some people have that on their phones, but I pick up their phone, and suddenly, again, I'm them. But now we have iPhones that can tell our fingerprints, and we have Apple Watches that can tell skin contact, and they can use them for authentication at that point. So I would really love like a future where I walk in, and when it gets to proximity, not only does my computer come on, but it knows that I'm the one wearing that watch because I authorized it with Touch ID or a PIN code, and it hasn't left my wrist since. And I think once you have those paradigms and you have things like handoff, I'll be able to take the message that just came in, sit down at my Mac, it'll come up, not only log me in, but log me in and bring up messages, because that's what I was working last, but not just messages, the exact message I think the future for the Mac is super bright with this, Peter.
Absolutely.
All right, so like I said, we will be there live. We have a page set up. I'll link to it, but it's imore.com/spring-forward-event, and you can keep track of everything that's happening there. And Serenity has already been planning our content, and I looked at it, and it went off the internet page. I don't know how you exceeded the length of the internet, Serenity, but you did.
I'm just lucky, I guess.
All right, so if people want to find out more about you, Georgia, if they want to watch you salivating over the watch going forward, where can they go?
Of course, iMore. You can check me out on Vector or Isometric Podcast, and on Twitter at Georgia_Dow.
All right, Peter, if they want to see you make up your mind, where can they go?
iMore.com, of course, and follow me on all the social things at Flarg, Flargh.
Serenity?
On all the things at Saturn and at imore.com.
And Allie couldn't make it today, but you can find her at iMuggle, IMUGGLE. You can find me at Rene Ritchie. You can find all of us at iMore. This was a special edition podcast. Usually we're here every Wednesday live at around 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, but you can find the show all the time at youtube.com/iMoreVideo, or you can go straight to iTunes for the iMore show, and you can get it on demand. I want to thank all of you, 92 people who are watching a last-minute podcast live. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. You continue to be the best community on the interwebs, and we're glad that you're with us. Have a great weekend, folks. I feel like we need music like dun 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 dun. This has been an iMore special report. Dun 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 dun.
This has been Apple Talk.
Today, Apple announced an event for March 9th. It is a day that will live in Georgia's infamy.
Oh boy.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.